The Ides of March singing Vehicle. Just got a great jazzy riff there, and the main reason why I'm playing that is because it was used predominantly in the trailer for the fantastic Netflix film Dolomite Is My Name, which I checked out yesterday. Its first day out on Netflix streaming, and let me just tell you the short of it is you need to go watch this film as soon as you possibly can. It is absolutely wonderful. Perfect little film. I'll have my review of it a little bit later on the film, a little bit earlier than the film. I got about 5 or 6 things I got to do before I get to that, but definitely worthwhile and definitely worth it. And hey, look above me, we have light. My wife actually changed the light bulb because I don't know how to do it, and I'll be the first person to admit it. I don't know how to do it, so we have the light above us now, and I can probably turn this off. I could, but then I can't really read my stuff so well. But hey, that's what we got here. So this is episode 319 of Dylan Knows, Halloween Apathy, and there's a reason for that. Obviously, I don't have the apathy because I am wearing this. It is the last Saturday before Halloween because Halloween will be on Thursday. So this is technically Halloween weekend. For those people out there been trying to get this changed, this would be actually Halloween today. There are people out there saying that Halloween should not be on October 31st every year. It should be on the last Saturday of October. That way, families can take their time and go trick-or-treating, and it doesn't interfere with jobs and school and stuff like that, and they can have parties and be more excited, stuff like that. And I've gone over this before on my show. I agree with some of their things, but Halloween is and always will be October 31st for me, and I cannot think of anything else being on October 31st. So for now, we're at a stalemate. I'm okay with what it is, and I'm okay with the way things are going now because this is the weekend where most places do a Halloween weekend event type of thing. Today, my Reisterstown, the town I live in, they did their Halloween trick-or-treat along Main Street. And it was also Halloween Comic Fest today at the comic book store. And tomorrow, weather permitting, since it's supposed to be raining all day tomorrow, there's the last farmers market here in Reisterstown for the year. And they're going to be doing a Halloween thing too, though I don't think we're going to be going to that one because we've done enough Halloween stuff. Because Friday was my son's final fall festival in elementary school, since he's going to be leaving elementary school this year, going into middle school. So they have a fall festival every year, trunk or treat, haunted hallway, stuff like that. And so he wanted to go to that one last time. So I'll talk about all that a little bit as well down the line too. But a lot of stuff going on today. As I said, I got I got some Halloween stories coming up. I've got my Halloween apathy stories, why I believe that this Halloween is going to be kind of weak. So we'll see what happens. Let's see what else we have. Martin Scorsese and Francis Ford Coppola and Pedro Almodovar still going on and on about Marvel Comics Cinematic Universe. We have some Florida Man, Florida women stuff. Let's see, what else do we got? Weird stories about drunks who thought they were dead and Halloween fans who were dead, and both of them were considered not to be dead or something, or the opposite of what they were. A lot of space stuff. Inflatable. Samuel L. Jackson has a new role. A deer gets some revenge. YouTube channel playing death metal 24/7. There's a special reason for that. 39 bodies found in a truck. The Star Wars trailer. Tarantino's in the news again. A white man named Tupac Shakur was arrested. Yes, I said that. I meant Beard Christmas lights. And some other stuff as well. But all kinds of interesting things going on today. So, first and foremost, it's Halloween season. So the world's largest Ouija board, Ouija, whatever you want to call it, has been unveiled in Salem, Massachusetts. It's basically the size of a square, government square sort of thing. So it's a massive Ouija board. I guess it works. So that'd be kind of cool to have, a bunch of people pushing the little mirror dial thing, whatever. So just another way to make Salem, Massachusetts, another entertaining thing to do at Halloween. They always have a month-long celebration since it's Salem and the witch trials and so on and so forth. So that's always good. You're looking for something else to do. So there you go. Qantas, the airline that flies to Australia, is testing something. So they had a flight earlier this week to test the effects on the people on the plane. A lot of times Qantas, which is a flight from the United States to Australia, it could be upwards of 18 to 20. No, I mean, I guess it'd be longer than that. Like, probably takes, a good long time to get down there, since you're flying basically from the northern hemisphere down to the southern hemisphere. You got a lot of ground to cover, and basically you're going from the top of the world to the bottom of the world. So there's a lot of ground to cover. Usually takes a long time. Well, Qantas decided to try this week a test of doing a flight nonstop, which I guess they do some stops along the way on their regular trip to Australia. I guess you kind of have to, but they just flew the first 20-hour flight from New York City direct to Australia. So it was a direct flight, no stops from New York City to Australia, and it took 20 hours. So just thinking about if you added in some stops in there, how long it would be of a flight to be there. I know my brother-in-law has flown down to Australia a few times, so I'm not exactly sure how a 20-hour flight would be for me, since I'm tall and the seats are stupid in airplanes. But I think Qantas is a little bit different. I think the seats are wider and have more space, and there's also, they might even have some stuff where you can sleep and do stuff as well. So we'll see. I've never taken a Qantas flight, and I probably won't, because I probably doubt I'll ever get down to Australia. I'd like to sometime, but I don't think I'll do that anytime soon. Francis Ford Coppola joins Martin Scorsese in decrying Marvel movies. He is, the funny thing is, when was the last time Francis Ford Coppola made a movie? It's been a really long time, because he went and he's focused on his winery, which is great because his wine is fantastic. But yes, you made The Godfather and Apocalypse Now and a few others really, really good films. But when was the last film you made came out? Was it Tigerland? Did he do that one? Was that in 2004? I don't even know if he did one in this century yet. But you haven't done a movie in forever. And again, your opinion, and you can keep it to yourself. It's fine. But again, it made big news, as did Martin Scorsese, continuing to discuss it. First up earlier this week, he said he was worried that today's kids would not want to watch real cinema because they're so ensconced in this Marvel stuff. Now, I gotta take that to exception a little bit too, because why look at Marvel movies just for the reason why young kids today don't want to watch cinema art? Because to be honest, I find a lot of the artistic cinema stuff absolutely dreadfully boring. Yes, it's well shot and beautiful and all that, but it's dreadfully boring. When I want to go to a film, I want to see something, an entertaining story, good acting, some action, some sex, maybe some other stuff as well. A lot of these artistic films are just really, really plotting and hard to keep up with. And yes, the acting is great and the directing is probably really, really good too. But let's face facts. Today's kids, they don't give a rat's ass about, long shots and, philosophical discussions and stuff like that. They care about quick shot, bright colored sort of things, because they are the generation brought up on YouTube, animation, video games, and that's all that they look at. And look, I can say that because I have kids that age, and what they do, they spend most of their time watching YouTube, and they watch animation videos, and they watch videos of people playing video games, and they go and they play video games. They play Roblox and Minecraft. My daughter has been dying to get this. She got her Sims 4. She saved up the money for it from doing some chores and odd jobs around the house, and she got today. It took me over an hour to figure out how to install it. And then it took an additional 50 minutes to fully install. And by the time it got started, there's a flickering on it. So I don't even know what's going on. But my daughter was extremely ecstatic and happy. But the fact of the matter is, that's what the kids nowadays want. They don't want artistic films and, conversations and stuff like that. They want action and stuff like that. And that's what Marvel brings to it. And at the same time, he finally doubled down on it a little bit, and he said that it is a different cinema form now, is his new statement as well. And that's fine. You can double back down on that. That seems a bit more unpretentious than, well, it's not real cinema. No, it's a different style cinema. And I've been saying that, and a lot of people have been saying that as well. So I'm glad you got it, Martin, finally. So we'll see what happens. Now, Pedro Almodovar, who is a Mexican film director who does a lot of sexually charged films, Tie Me Up, Tie Me Down, to be one off the top of my head that I can remember. He says that the Marvel movies lack sex. And look, well, I agree with that, and it'd be nice to have seen some sex, but in the end, they're comic book movies, and you're not expecting to see sex because you don't see real sex in superhero comics all that much. There are, some, changes, particularly in DC nowadays. They're really pushing sexy Lois Lane, which has been an ongoing joke when I used to do the comic call, and they're still running through that, which is great, which means she has a healthy sex life with her husband Superman, and that's great. And Batman and Catwoman have been having sex all over the place, and that's great also. It's wonderful. And Peter Parker and Mary Jane seem to be having a healthy sex life as well, which is, again, wonderful. And it's great. And that's in the comics. In the movies, you don't really need to see all that. That's fine. But Pedro Almodovar says that's what Marvel needed. That's one of the reasons why Marvel movies are bad, is because it didn't have any sex. And I was like, okay, whatever, dude. It's your opinion again. So whatever. A woman killed after witnessing a robbery while playing Pokemon Go. Now, when Pokemon Go first came out, these stories were kind of the norm. Maybe not necessarily someone actually getting killed, but there was one story I remember from the early days of Pokemon Go where they stumbled upon a dead body in the woods because they were looking for Pokemon in the woods, out of the beaten path where a lot of people would go to. And then another one was robbers who wanted to stick up people playing Pokemon Go would find discords or whatever, or they themselves would play Pokemon Go, and they would join the different groups that you have to keep in contact with each other, and they would post out, hey, there's a specific Pokemon at this place. Why don't you come out and get it? I don't know how long it's going to be there. So people would rush to go get the Pokemon because they wanted to try to fill their Pokédex, and the guy would be there waiting and take their phones and their money and stuff like that. So we've had issues like that as well. We've never had an issue where a woman was killed after witnessing a robbery. She witnessed a robbery, I think, and as they were trying to get away, I think she was hit by a car or something like that. And I think that's what caused her to die, which is still a shame that happened. But it's a hard thing, and condolences to her family. A couple of Florida man stories. Naked Florida man covered in Vaseline streaks through the mall, then takes a dump in a cash register. So, huzzah, Florida man, for your running naked covered in Vaseline and then taking a dump in a cash register. That's very interesting. And also, another Florida man was arrested for having sex with an Olaf stuffed toy at a Target. Olaf is from the Frozen 2 movie coming up, and he's the snowman. Well, apparently this Florida man went and had sex in a Target with a stuffed Olaf stuffed animal, which makes no sense because there's no holes in him. And why Olaf? It's not like he looks like a vagina, so I don't know. So Florida man, you're insane. Here's Florida woman Florida woman dislocates her son's jaw after he refuses to stop playing Fortnite 2. I would say it's not Fortnite anymore because Fortnite doesn't exist. Fortnite 2 does right now. So Florida woman apparently was trying to get her son to get off of Fortnite, and he sort of, was kind of snotty to her and kind of said, "No, I'm not going to do it." And she just went pop and dislocated his jaw. So, there we go. So Florida woman gets involved in that as well. Christmas light up chickens are a thing now. They're not like inflatables, but they're little chickens probably about the size of a real chicken that are now, they look like a chicken and they have Christmas lights on it. So you put that out into, your decoration, add it to your decorations, stuff like that. And huzzah, you got yourself a Christmas light up chicken, which is probably what I should have called this episode. You also have, it must be on the other page. Yep. Beard Christmas lights are a thing also. If you have a beard, you can actually now get a Christmas light pack that allows you to put the Christmas lights all over your beard. And I guess it's battery powered, and you can light it up and they'll light up your face and your beard. So good, I guess. Anything else? Nope, nothing else Christmas related just yet that I can find off the top of my head. In the world of Tic Tacs, the little mints that you get, that you can only really get a couple of them, and you suck them for a little bit, and you get a little bit of mint flavor, and then you either bite down on them or you swallow them whole because they're so small. Well, they're now going to be creating Coca-Cola Tic Tacs. That's interesting flavor, I guess. Tic Tacs to me are always minty, though. My son likes the fruity flavored ones, and they're okay too. So I guess it's the next step up is to do a Coca-Cola one. A little bit of local news. The Baltimore Orioles, our baseball team, they're undergoing a team-wide rebuilding, and they won, I think, like 7 or 8 more games than they did last year. So they they're not the worst team in Major League Baseball this year like they were last year. However, ever since I've been an Oriole fan, which has basically been pretty much my whole life, one of the things that always got my attention, particularly as a kid, because that's what they're usually used for, is the Baltimore Oriole bird mascot. It's a guy dressed up in an Oriole bird, orange and black, anthropomorphic style looking bird, running around, gets chants going and stuff like that. He's a really good mascot. Well, he has been nominated for the Mascot Hall of Fame's 2020 class. Now, I never knew there was a Mascot Hall of Fame, and if anyone deserves it, it is absolutely the Oriole bird. He absolutely deserves to be in there, and hopefully he'll get into the Hall of Fame. If not this year, eventually some year. Woman lives with her husband and a fiance, and has 2 other side guys also. So she's currently with 4 people. One she officially married, one she's been engaged to, and they all live together in one house. And then she's got 2 side guys that are there as well. And that is kind of interesting. I don't want to be judgmental, and so I'm not going to be, but the woman is not exactly what you would consider someone who would have 4 guys. But you know what? It's me being judgmental, and that's bad. Bad doing. That's why you're having issues with your car again, probably because you're an asshole. But yes, I don't know if there's actual issues with my car, but it just seems like that it's running a little hotter than usual. Not that my engine light is any different. It stays basically where it's supposed to. It's not going above the temperature, but every time I stop the car or get out or whatever, I can always either smell the heat or I can feel it coming off my car. So I don't know if there's something else going on there. And as I said before, got my oil changed about a month and a half ago, and my oil light pops up now only when my engine temperature is at the midpoint and I'm stopped. If I just move an inch, just real slow, it'll go off. So I don't know if that's warning me. I mean, my assumption would be that if I was low on oil, which doesn't make any sense, I just got my oil changed a month and a half ago, it would stay on all the time, and not just, when I hit a certain, because there are days where it doesn't even come on at all, because I never get to that point where I'm at a halfway point with my engine temperature and I stop. And and even when it does, it stays on for a second, and then once I move, it goes off. And if I stop again, sometimes it comes back on, sometimes it doesn't. So I really don't know what's going on with that. But I'm real worried about the heat coming off of it, and I'm scared that there is an oil issue. So Monday, I'm probably going to have it get looked at the Meineke across from my work. So we'll see. But I don't mean to be judgmental, but it just seems an interesting story like that. A heavy drinker, wakes up in the morgue after being declared dead when he passed out downing vodka in Russia. So he's in Russia, he's at a party, he's downing a lot of vodka, and then basically he kind of passes out, but everybody thinks he's dead. So they call the police come and get him, they take him all the way down to the morgue, and he wakes up in the morgue. They discover he's not dead. They let him go about his way. He goes back to the party and starts drinking again. So you be you, guy. And that reminds me of another story that came up at the right before I came on the show. A man, it's haunted house season. So you go to these haunted woods, haunted houses, whatever, and they try to scare you and all kinds of stuff. And some of them are really, really, heavy scares, heavy on the scares and the gore right now. Well, apparently at one of these haunted houses, a man died in the haunted house, either from fear or had a heart attack or whatever. And nobody noticed for 2 weeks because they thought he was part of the props for the haunted house. I mean, what do you expect? A dead body, in a haunted house? It makes sense, that you would have something like that there. So two kind of, interesting stories, sort of similar. One where one guy actually dies, but isn't believed to be dead, believed to be a prop for a haunted house. The other is a guy who didn't die, but is declared dead, then wakes up and goes back to drinking vodka in Russia. So voila. So let's talk a bit about Halloween apathy. Yesterday, as I mentioned at the top of the show, was my son's final fall festival at elementary school. Now, at the elementary school, they have haunted hallway, they have a DJ that plays music, and they have an arts and crafts room, and they have a trunk or treat for about half an hour, which is basically when cars come, of parents of the students come, and they park their cars and open up their trunks and decorate their trunks. And then when the time comes, kids go and they trick or treat around in an enclosed area and get candy without, endangering themselves. So we've gone, let's see, I've had my daughter went there for close to 6 years, kindergarten included. And now my son's been going there now for close to 6 years, kindergarten included as well. So we've gone to these things since, I'd say, 2010, 2011, somewhere around there. So we've been going there for quite a while. And so we haven't gone every year, but we try to go because there's also the book fairs going on during that time as well. Anyway, this year, we didn't go last year. I forget the reason why. I think we were going to, but it didn't quite work out for whatever reason. And so we didn't go last year for Noel was in 6th grade, so it would have been just for Noah. But we went this year because Noah wanted to go and hang out with his friends, which is fine. That'd be great. And he was able to find some friends and hang out with them. My daughter, Noel, she got dressed up, but she was kind of not embarrassed, but she felt weird being back in elementary school. She hadn't been there for 2 years. And, she's grown up and she's done a lot more things since then. And she's, you know how it is when you return to your elementary school from being away from it for so long. And it just seemed a little awkward for her and she was a little bored. And to be honest, I was too. I mean, my wife is away on her last Wood Badge camping trip of the year. She'll be back tomorrow. But we were just sort of bored. So we said, okay, we'll take, I decided I wanted to take Noah, wanted to go through the haunted hallway. And it's elementary school. I get it. And, the few haunted hallways we've done before, they actually were actually, honestly, they were not bad. Scare wise, they were appropriate for young kids, and it freaked out my son a little bit more because he was more scared of stuff back then. But when we walked through this haunted hallway this year, it was lame. And that wasn't just me. I mean, my son wasn't even scared. It was just people jumping out at you going, yeah, blah. Not even really in costumes, just wearing black and just jumping out at you. And there's a few things hanging from the ceiling, but like nothing really jump scare worthy or things you couldn't see coming down the line. And again, I get it for the younger kids, that could be scary, but it wasn't scary. And there was stuff you could do to make it age appropriate scariness. They just had people lazily just walking around grabbing people and going, I'm going to get you. You better get up while you still can. That type of stuff. There's things you could have done to make it more creepy, but they didn't. So that was a waste of time. Then with the DJ, there's really no dancing. It's just kids running around because they're elementary school kids, which is fine. Again, I get it. I understand. That's what they do. They run around. They do stuff. They're hyper. They're crazy. A lot of the kids go outside. Their parents just don't care. They run around the school building at night, playing tag and stuff out and by the cars and stuff like that. And there was a lot of people in the arts and crafts room, which is good. And there were a lot of people in the book fair area, but once you got outside, because Noel and I spent most of our time outside because it was really, really warm in the school. So it was kind of nice temperature outside. And we're just looking around, and there wasn't a lot of cars involved this year in Trunk or Treat. Usually there's a lot more. Usually, this whole side is filled with cars, and then this other full side is almost filled completely with cars. The last time I did one about 2 years ago, there were tons of cars, and then this year it was just like it was compressed. So it just seemed like nobody really was interested this year. And I don't know if that was because of the students who were there a couple years ago, their parents were more involved in it, or that might have been their last child through elementary school. So the people who were really more involved, they moved on to the middle school where you don't do these kinds of things. There's that potential possibility, but it just seemed like. And then the other thing is a lot of people didn't dress up. A lot of kids didn't dress up. I mean, there were a good amount of them. And in fact, the best costume I saw was actually on a dad. The dad had on glasses. He had on a suit coat, white shirt, white suit, or black suit pants, a black suit jacket, a white button-up shirt. But he had unbuttoned the button-down shirt and unbuttoned his jacket, and it was pulled aside. And he had a Superman T-shirt underneath. So he was Clark Kent becoming Superman. And that was a great costume. That was a fantastic costume. So, some of the kids had some, a lot of kids were dressed up, but there were also a lot that were not and were just there for the candy. They decided they weren't going to get dressed up. Now, at the same time, I can see, all right, it isn't that big of a deal. I'll wait and wear my costume on Halloween, blah, blah, blah. But they just, it wasn't, there didn't seem to be that Halloween excitement. And I don't know what that's all about. So then today was the Main Street Halloween stuff. Now, to be fair, we got out late because we weren't really in that big of a hurry to go out there. The trick-or-treating on Main Street wasn't going to be till noon. It was going to go from noon to 2. Now, the event started at 10 o'clock. There was like a costume parade and arts and crafts at the library and stuff like that. And then the trick-or-treat started at 12 o'clock. And that's when the majority of people probably did their trick-or-treating. So we showed up about 1 o'clock because it goes till 2 o'clock. And went up and down Main Street. They were still giving away candy. But again, not a lot of the shops on Main Street were being involved in this trick-or-treat on Main Street thing. And obviously, I could have missed the big crowds earlier, but there really wasn't a lot of people out and about dressed in costumes doing the Main Street trick-or-treat. There were some. Absolutely there were. But there really wasn't a lot. And again, that led me to believe that, again, are we looking at Halloween as just a bad year? Is it just apathy? Is there just too much going on? Is everything just changing so much? Is it the government? I don't know. It's just something about it just wasn't getting people excited about the holiday. And it wasn't like bad weather. I mean, it was cloudy all day, but it wasn't like raining. It didn't start spitting till later in the day. And even then, it was just a real quick, and then it stopped for a long time. It's supposed to rain heavier starting tonight and go all the way through tomorrow. But it just seemed rather odd. And then we ended up at the comic book store for Halloween Comic Fest. And again, I'm going to preface this by saying it's their business. They can do whatever the heck they want. And even though they're free comics, the comic book stores still have to pay like 25 cents per issue. So they still have to pay for these. So a lot of times they're not ordering a lot of the free comics and stuff like that. So I've noticed on a few of the free comic book days lately at my comic book store and on the Halloween Comic Fest that they're limiting the amount of comics that someone can get. In the old days, when they were at their old shop, and they had these events going on, Free Comic Book Day and Halloween Comic Fest, you could take as many as you wanted. Hell, they had stuff from last year up there to try to clear out the ones that they didn't get rid of last year. And they'll do the same next year. They'll have the ones that they couldn't get rid of this year and last year and the year before all put on the rack so that maybe someone new will come in and grab. But when you're only offering 2, that's where it gets kind of, okay, 2 per person. Well, there's like 5 or 6 I want to look at. So I have to choose which 2 I want to look at. Again, I love my comic book store. It's their business. They're doing it the way they want to do it. I got that. But at the same time, I don't like what they're doing. I liked it better when you could take as many as you wanted. I thought that'd be the whole point, is to try to clear out as many of them as you wanted so that, you don't have these extras that you have to bring out the next year or so later on like that. But again, I don't know what's going on with that. So again, that sort of felt sort of like a little bit of apathy in that as well. And, nothing really exciting. I mean, there was no people dressed up in costumes or, nothing going on. It wasn't like Free Comic Book Day, which is fine. Free Comic Book Day is its own holiday, and it's a big deal for them. They bring in creators from all over, and they do stuff like that. And it's a big deal because when we went to Free Comic Book Day this year, the lines were, to buy stuff was out the door basically, and that was a good sign. And I was just hoping that they would try to have some other stuff like that going on now, but I don't know. So to me, it just seems like there's like this apathy towards Halloween. Now, also, and my daughter sort of recognized this as well, the neighborhood hasn't really been getting too decorated up this Halloween. There are a few houses here and there. I have a house. There's a couple houses down from me that has stuff. There's one across the way from me that has some stuff. And there's some other ones that have popped some stuff up recently, but not nearly as much as there used to be in the old days. Again, it just seems like, well, what are we waiting for? Now, that also could have to do with, Halloween apathy this year might be a couple of other reasons. Could be A, it's on a Thursday this year. And B, it's supposed to probably rain all day. So it's not going to be a really good Halloween. So right now for me, Halloween is just sort of kind of a blah sort of right now. Now, next week's episode of Dylan Knows, episode 320, will be after Halloween, will be the weekend in November, and my whole family is going to be gone on Saturday, the 2nd of November. So I'll be doing my show probably upstairs, but I'll be in the house by myself. And this is a little sneak preview. I will be discussing the 25th anniversary of something that happened on Halloween 1994 next week. Since I don't want to talk about it this week because I got a lot on my plate, it'll be a good thing to talk about next week since Halloween literally had been just a few days prior. So keep that in mind for next week's episode, TMI, and that's not a joke. Also today I had to go out and I had to get reading glasses. I don't have them on now because I'm just reading my writing and I can read that mostly okay. But I've been needing to get reading glasses for a while. I've been noticing a hard time for me trying to read some of the small lettering and stuff that I've been discovering on some of the stuff I do at work, and finding it hard to differentiate between the numbers of 8 and 6 or 8 and 5 sometimes when it comes to the style that they put the font on it for some of my orders. So it's been taking me a while to get that. So, and my eyes have been hurting a little bit when it comes to looking at stuff, and I've had to hold it away, stuff like that. So I got some reading glasses finally. So they look really good when I'm actually reading something, but when you take it away, your eyes get all cloudy and your head starts to hurt. And then when I take off the glasses, my eyes seem all out of whack, even without the glasses on, and still have a headache about it. So I guess I just need to get used to them. But right now, it just seems like they're more trouble than it's worth. So there's that. The Star Wars trailer came out this week. The last one for the Rise of Skywalker. Pretty good. You got some more look at what's going to happen, some more action sequences between Kylo Ren and Rey, and you get all the characters again. You got to see everybody, stuff like that, and some interesting locations popping up. So it was a good trailer, and makes you want to see the film as soon as possible. The pre-orders for it are now surpassing Endgame, so there's a very real possibility that this Star Wars movie could actually surpass Endgame and become the highest grossing picture of all time, which wouldn't surprise me. We'll see what happens. We'll probably see it. Comes out like December 18th or something like that. We'll probably see it New Year's Eve like we usually do. We usually catch a movie sometime on New Year's Eve. So that's pretty good. Except I'll probably work on New Year's Eve because New Year's Eve is on a Tuesday this year. Fantastic. Oh, well, whatever. So there's that. All right. I talked about the Joker movie. I gave my review of Joker movie a couple weeks ago when I went to see it on opening weekend. Well, because it's been making lots of money this week, it has now surpassed the Deadpool movies to now become the highest grossing R-rated film of all time. So Joker now has that distinction as being the highest grossing film, R-rated film of all time. And because of that, there have been discussions that there could be a Joker 2 movie, and I just kept shaking my head. No, you can't. There's really no reason to do a Joker 2 because you told the story you wanted to tell. But then this week, sure enough, hey, Joker 2 is in pre-production right now. Or it's just getting looked at. I guess the writers will see if they can come up with a good storyline. And the one thing they mentioned was that they might introduce a new Batman. Now, we've got Robert Pattinson coming up in a couple years with his Batman movie directed by Matt Reeves. And because we know that this Joker movie takes place outside of the Robert Pattinson Batman universe, as well as the Michael Keaton one, the Val Kilmer one, the George Clooney one, and the Christian Bale one, the Ben Affleck one, there's going to be yet another Batman. So when I heard that, I was sort of like, oh, wonderful, great. But then something like that happened on, I guess it was Friday, I guess. Yeah, it was Friday. I think I mentioned it to my friend Gary. I literally was like walking to the bathroom, and I guess I was thinking, I don't know why I was thinking about Joker 2 and Batman. Maybe I was having a discussion with someone about it, and I was just on my way there. When I just had a thought, and this sounds like one of those little like Reddit theory things, and I want to run this past you. And I want everyone to know that, if I'm right, this would be the first time, episode 319 of Dylan Knows on October 26, 2019, that this theory that I just came up with without I haven't read anything about it, a theory for Joker 2 or anything like this. It's just an idea I came up with on my own. Now, a little bit of spoilers. We know in the Joker movie that Thomas Wayne, Bruce's father, is kind of a dick. In the comics, he's like St. Thomas. In the movie, the Joker, he is an asshole. He's not very kind to Joker. He's going to run for mayor, which I don't think the real Thomas Wayne would ever do anyway. He prefers to help people as a doctor. All people, not just the rich and powerless, but the powerful. But this Thomas Wayne seemed like he was kind of a dickish guy who really only cared about high society people and not really poor people as much. He claimed that his running for mayor was going to help the poor people, but he never really got any proof of it. And the fundraisers he went to were all for his rich buddies and no poor people. And that was when the Joker sort of protest started happening. So Thomas Wayne gets killed by one of the Joker's protesters. Bruce Wayne sees it, obviously, and from that moment on, Batman is born. And in my viewpoint, the end scene of Joker with him talking to the psychiatrist, where he's laughing about a joke, and she says, "What's so funny?" I was like, "It's a joke." And she says, "Can you tell it to me?" It's like, "You wouldn't understand it." And there's a flash of him seeing Bruce by himself. He realized that I think this scene takes place in the future, and he had just encountered Batman for the first time, and Batman defeated him, and he discovered that Batman was Bruce Wayne. And then it flashes back to that he helped create the person that beat him. That's been my theory for what the ending Joker is. So bear with me here. So here's my theory for what Joker 2 might be then, if they want to go this way. Have you ever read Dark Knight Returns? It's one of the seminal pieces of Batman literature out there. Some consider it the best Batman story of all time. It's okay. I haven't read it in a while. Frank Miller wrote and drew it. Lynn Varley did the colors. And it's an interesting story, but it's more of a sort of a grumpier, older Batman who's retired for a while, who has to get called back into service when we start having mutants and other people trying to overthrow and protest sort of the stuff that's going on in the city. And the Joker is one of the characters that pops up again. He seems to be a bit more flamboyant and not your typical psychotic Joker that you're used to seeing in the comics nowadays. Now, you also can piggyback All-Star Batman and Robin to that also, which was the Jim Lee, Frank Miller, not Elseworlds, but whatever they called that story. That was basically Frank Miller had gone out and said before that was like the origin leading to the Dark Knight Returns Batman. And that Batman was a dick as well, was an asshole, because Frank Miller, that's all Frank Miller can write right now, is sociopaths. And he wanted to write Batman as this dickish asshole who forces Dick Grayson as a young boy who just lost his parents to survive in the cave on rats and bats without any food or water, to train him up, and then ends up having vicious, hot sex with Black Canary while they're like punching each other and shit like that. And he's, on the motherfucking Batman and stuff like that. It's all stuff that leads to the Dark Knight Returns. It's sort of this grumpy Batman. So I started thinking about it as like, what if Joker 2 is either going to be their version of Dark Knight Returns or is going to lead into a Dark Knight Returns movie? Because they've already said before they're going to bring in a new Batman outside of the other Batman characters are in the movies. Thomas Wayne is kind of a dick, which would raise up Bruce Wayne to be kind of a dick as well, because he didn't have that strong, Alfred is there, but he didn't have that strong fatherly thing. But when he was still a kid, though, his father was probably kind of an abusive little asshole to his son, maybe a little bit. And the Joker in both Dark Knight Returns and in this one is not flamboyant, because Joaquin Phoenix isn't really gay, but you could make the assumption that he might have been, and his voice and his inflection and stuff like that was kind of higher pitched. And the Joker in the Dark Knight Returns is sort of that flamboyant sort of Joker as well. So it got me thinking that I'm wondering if this is going to be a setup for Dark Knight Returns, because everybody's been trying to do a Dark Knight Returns comic book version of the Dark Knight Returns, and no one's been able to figure out how to do it. And maybe they just have now by jumping onto this Joker 2 thing. So that's my theory. We'll see what happens. I'm probably wrong, but it's a theory that you might want to think about a little bit. All right. Now's the time. The only thing left remaining on this page before I go on to my next page and a half of stuff is my review of Dolomite Is My Name, and Fucking Up Motherfuckers Is My Game. Put your weight on it. I think I read a review somewhere that said Dolomite Is My Name is the absolute perfect Netflix film. I have to agree with you. Dolomite Is My Name is an outstanding, amazing film filled with empowerment, embracing who you are, not giving up, and, feeling good about yourself, empowering you to be more than you are. And when someone tells you no, you just find a way to get around that no to get to yes by trying different things and different ways. I'll be doing kind of a spoilery type of review of it. It's not that long. I think it's about 2 hours long, I think is what it was, roughly about 2 hours. It's written by the same cat group, that same guys that wrote Ed Wood, People versus Larry Flint. I think they did the People versus O.J. Simpson. So they're really into these like biopic things. I think he did Man on the Moon also, to be honest. They're into these like biopic sort of things. And they're fantastic. They're great. They're great at it. And Dolomite Is My Name would be a perfect companion to Ed Wood and even Bowfinger, which wasn't written by those guys, but a similar sort of let's get together and make a film sort of. It's like its own little genre, because Ed Wood, Dolomite Is My Name, and Bowfinger are all about, hey, let's all get together and make this film. And you see how these losers, make a film and they make an enjoyable film. Now, Dolomite Is My Name is based on a true story. Rudy Ray Jefferson or something like that. Let me get the real characters. Dolomite Is My Name. I think it's like Rudy Ray Moore, who is been everything. He's played by Eddie Murphy, a successful return to form. And he plays Rudy Ray Moore, who is a guy who's been trying to make it famous. He grew up in Arkansas and wanted to get out of there. So he moved to Hollywood to make it big as a singer, comedian, whatever he could, something in the entertainment biz. So he's cut some records, and they're not very, very good. And he's done some comedy, and it's not very, very good. And he has a job working in a record shop that has a radio station that broadcasts from the back. And the DJ at that one is played by Snoop Dogg in a great little cameo role. Well, yeah, it's kind of a cameo. He's only in 2 scenes. And Rudy's still trying to make his name, to get people out there to know who it is. So one day he and his coworker Tony are listening to Red Fox's new record, which is his like sort of blue kind of comedy. One of the first people to do like a record with that blue comedy. Red Fox led to Richard Pryor, and Richard Pryor leads to Eddie Murphy and stuff like that. So that was kind of a neat little connection there. And Tony's a younger guy, and he's digging what Red Fox is doing, and it's like he's very popular and stuff like that. And Rudy Ray Moore is from a whole different generation. This isn't funny. This isn't great. This is just him cursing and doing a lot of stuff. That's not how comedy is. He's more of a guy that says comedy needs to be a little bit more subjective. Now they also have a bum who comes into the store and starts spouting off these non sequiturs that rhyme. About I fucked a sheep and it was all hairy like my beep or something like that. He just these little rhymes and stories like that. And eventually Rudy starts hearing about that, and they're like stories, hobo stories he calls them, and he starts thinking of them as that could be the basis for a stand-up comedy routine. He just have to change up some of the storyline and the rhymes, but he could do that and also maybe create this new character called Dolomite, because one of the rhymes has Dolomite Is My Name in it. So he figured, why don't I create this character of Dolomite, make him dressed up sort of like a pimp sort of thing with a wig and stuff like that. So Rudy Ray sits down with all the bums and gets all these jokes, writes them all down, pays them money for their time, and then he just starts writing jokes and does his stand-up routine, and he creates his character of Dolomite. And besides working at the record store, he also has a job as an MC at a club where his friend, I forget what his, a musician, what is your musician name? Ben Taylor, played by Craig Robinson, comes in his band. So Ben Taylor's got sort of this very soothing R&B sort of style voice. And I believe that Craig Robinson actually does the singing of that. And so he's the DJ, he's the MC for that band, and so he does his stand-up there. So he one night comes in with his new character of Dolomite, and the place goes wild for him. And so he starts doing it more and more people start coming in to see him doing Dolomite. So he tries to, he decides now's a good time to create a comedy album, just like a Red Fox did. So he gets a bunch of people together, gets some money from his rich aunt, who I think he's living with. No, he lives in his own apartment, but he visits his aunt all the time because she moved out to California also, after she got a settlement for, I think, falling out of a bus or something like that. So he borrows some money from her to record a live album in his apartment. So he brings in a bunch of people off the street, friends and other stuff, and they come on in, and then he spikes this punch with lots and lots of vodka to get people to just start cracking up about anything. And so they record a live comedy album from his apartment with this audience laughing and cheering and wolf whistling and stuff like that, and screaming and stuff like that, to make it sound like he's at a club like that. So he tries to go and sell it to a bunch of different record companies, but they all tell him, no, you can't do it because your language and all this stuff, you would never be able to put it on the air, and you would never be able to sell it because the police consider it smut and stuff like that. So what he does instead is he decides, so again, this is where it comes in with, someone says no, so he's going to move on and figure out a different way to do it. He decides to distribute it himself. So he's able, again, to get some money to do a bunch of pressings, and he plays some in secret at his record store. And then he secretly, when the people come in and hear that album and they like it, they come over, they can buy it. He secretly sells it from the record store, but it's not on the books of the record store. It's his own stuff. And so it becomes a wildly popular album, where all of a sudden some money men decide that they want to distribute it and send Rudy on this tour of all these different towns in the United States, and to promote the album and stuff like that. And so gradually doing these gigs makes the record go up and up the chart, and he becomes popular. He keeps doing a bunch of different records over and over again, and he becomes fairly popular. So one day he decides that he's happy, and he decides to take his friends to go see a movie. They've heard good things about this movie called The Front Page with Jack Lemmon and Walter Matthau, and it's an audience entirely of white people. And there's no black people in the movie, and they're laughing at weird jokes, and the black people don't get the humor. So afterwards, they're like, this isn't funny. We don't get any of this. And there's no black people in it. And that's when Rudy's like, Dolomite's hugely popular. Why don't we make a movie about Dolomite and jump on the popularity of the records? So again, he's able to, he finds a writer to write a screenplay, and he's able to find a place to film it, and he gathers all of his friends and stuff together to come in, and they make the film. And as in the case in a lot of these movies, once again, they make the film and there's some issues with it. They run into a famous actor played by Wesley Snipes. I just turned off the his character is Derville Martin, who is also a real actor. He was in a bunch of classic films like The Poseidon Adventure and Black Caesar and Rosemary's Baby and stuff like that. So he's worked with the big time people. So he's got sort of quirky little head on his shoulders, thinks he's better than everybody else. But Rudy's able to convince him to direct and co-star in the film with them. So we go in, and he's all, Derville is so flummoxed about this guy. He doesn't understand. Nothing this guy does is great. It's all stupid. The whole movie looks awful. So, but he just keeps doing it just because let's just get it over with and I can get out of here and stuff like that. And eventually they make the film. Everybody seems to be enjoying their time. And Derville's like, I'm not going to be anything to do with this film. And he departs. So Rudy has trouble again trying to distribute the film. And again, runs into the problem where nobody wants to distribute the film because they think Dolomite is just a character that's specifically liked by a certain group of people in certain areas, and that wouldn't be a wide thing. So they would prefer a wider ranging thing. So again, he's sort of on the fence about things when he does a rate. So he, in order to make money, to pay back the money men who've helped, pay for his film, he goes back out on tour and does more stuff, but it's not as exciting as it used to be because he wants to sell this movie, but he's still making money, stuff like that. So he goes on to a radio station and talks to a DJ played by Chris Rock. And Chris Rock hears the rumor about the movie and is trying to get when it's going to come out. And then they go to commercial, and Chris Rock unloads on Rudy by saying, "Why? I'm trying to help you out here. Why aren't you giving me any news about the movie?" And then Rudy tells him, "There's no movie. It's made, but we can't get it distributed." So Chris Rock's character is like, "Let me talk to my uncle," or something like that. And his uncle runs a movie theater in Indianapolis where he's doing this interview. And Rudy talks to the guy, and he says, "I can get you into a slot at midnight because I got nothing going on this date." And he says, "You'll have to pay me $500 for me to run your movie, but you get to keep 100% of the box office." And he gets to keep, and the theater owner gets to keep 100% of the concessions. So Rudy's like, "Okay, let me see what I can do." So he gets the money and pays and gets the film to the movie theater, and then he goes about for the next couple of days and does a marketing blitz. He goes on the radio again, talking with Chris Rock's character again. Chris Rock says, "I'm going to give away 2 tickets to this thing. This is when it's going to happen." He goes, hands out flyers, talks to people on the street, and gets everybody in there. And then he shows up and he sees this immense crowd coming in that wants to see it, and it makes money. So some film distributors see that this film made a ton of money in only like one theater, and they think, "Oh, there could be something to that." So they convince Rudy to come back to California, and they try to buy the rights to distribute the film. And Rudy plays a little hardball, but eventually he acquiesces, and they release the film wide. And him and his cast go to the premiere, and it looks like it's all going to be rough and that nothing's going to happen. But once they pull up, there's lines around the block, and they're going to have to add like 3 shows to it. And it's a success. So he knows that he's made his money back, and there's all these people waiting to go in. They can only seat so many people. So they're going to do like a 2 o'clock and a 4 o'clock show. And these people are going to have to wait out there for 2 to 4 hours waiting to get in to see this movie. So Rudy feels bad for them. He says, "I've already seen the movie." And the rest of the cast member going and watching the premiere. I'm going to hang out here with these people and entertain them so that, they're not feeling like that they're being rejected or whatever. So he goes out and he does his shtick for them, and that's where the movie ends. And that's the basic premise of it. So it's let's make a movie together. And it goes through its ups and downs, just like it did in Ed Wood. You have your ups and downs, and then everything in the end turns out to work out okay for the most part. And that's why it's such a great film. It's a fun film, but it is rated R for a very specific reason. The language is Midnight Run-esque, which means that there's every line seems to have an utterance of motherfucker, fuckers, fuck, shit, damn, a lot of language in it. A little bit of nudity and a sexual scene that's supposed to be filmed in the movie that's played for comedy, which is actually a very funny scene, but there is a sex scene in the film as well, and a little bit of Eddie Murphy nudity. Actually, a couple of instances of Eddie Murphy nudity, although we know that it is a butt double, but still. That's the film. Fantastic cast. Eddie is on top of his game. He truly deserves another Oscar nomination. Do I think he's going to get it? It's possible. He's been getting a lot of good ratings and good reviews. Wesley Snipes deserves a supporting actor nod. He's got the most interesting role playing D'Urville Martin, who has these weird kind of quirks. His eyes seem to bulge all the time, and Wesley is able to do it with aplomb, and also has got all kinds of little ticks. And this is one of the funny scenes in the trailer where they've just done a fight scene, and it emerges as good as Shaft, and Wesley Snipes is like, not so much, but there's this little quirk he does is hilarious. But he's fantastic, has a good supporting role in that as well. Keegan Michael Key plays Jerry Jones, the guy who writes the Dolomite movie and has a part in the role. He's really good as well. Craig Robinson, I mentioned before, is Ben Taylor. He's a singer who ends up singing the Dolomite theme song, which again is a real song, real movie, all this stuff. Mike Epps, who I absolutely loved in this film, also plays one of Rudy's friends, Jimmy Lynch, and his producer, but Mike Epps is fantastic in it. Titus Burgess plays Theodore Toney, who it's mentioned briefly, and it's kind of it's 1970s. I get it, but it's kind of maybe a slightly homophobic little thing. It's intimated that Theodore Tony's gay, and Rudy does a throwaway joke about him at one point. Divine Joy Randolph plays Lady Reed, who is fantastic. She is a extra sized woman who is empowered to join Rudy on the stage during his stand-up time, because Rudy, feels a little bad for her because her husband's cheating on her, and she has a son, and her life just seems to be rough. So, it's not anything romantic, but he just goes in there and they become really good friends, and he gets her to come on and do a bunch of stuff for him on his stand-up, and then gets her into the movie as well, and she becomes one of his confidants, and she's fantastic as well. As I said, Snoop Dogg has a nice cameo. Chris Rock does. Cody Smith McPhee is one of the lone white guys in it. He plays the cameraman, a film student from USC who's filming the film for them. I don't remember who T.I. plays, and Lunel plays Rudy's aunt. So, and then there's also an appearance by Steve Odenkirk, who plays one of the guys that is distributing his film, and stuff like that. So, a wonderful cast, and it's, as I said, they said it's like the most Netflix movie you've ever seen. It's just the type of film that you just want to watch something light and fluffy. There's nothing really awful about it, the language notwithstanding, but there's like no violence or murder that isn't done in comedic ways, because the murders you see in the movie are filmed for the movie Dolomite, so they're all movie things. It's stuntmen getting shot, and you see the blood spurting and stuff like that, and then Wesley Snipes is D'Urville Adams, who plays the bad guy in the movie, gets his intestines pulled out of him. It's fake, and it's all fake violence. There's no real violence towards any of the characters, with the exception of one scene where Lady Reed gets hit by her cheating husband, but she gets a nice little form of revenge on him. So I'm not going to cover that too much. But it's, in its essence, it's a film about empowering people to and getting you to, if you're rejected, don't give up. There's always other ways you can go about doing stuff, and as long as you believe in the product or whatever, you got to keep pushing it, and that's what makes the film outstanding and wonderful, and is one that I will probably watch multiple times because it is that good. And again, a really good companion to Ed Wood and Bowfinger would be two movies that would probably be a really good companion to Dolomite Is My Name. So it's on Netflix now. You can watch it anytime you want. There's no commercials. Just pop it on in. As I said, it's about a 2-hour long film. Just great cast. Everybody is, on point. I don't think there was one really bad actor in the whole thing. Even Snoop Dogg's scenes are actually really entertaining as well. Who plays a DJ that sort of brings Rudy back down to earth in the first scene of the film. So kind of a good film like that. So that's my review. Highly recommended. So going on to more storylines. We've got about a page and a half left. So probably got about maybe another hour left in me, if that. So maybe I'll get through this a little quicker, maybe half an hour. So we'll see. Rats can learn how to drive, and actually have been shown to be how to drive. A study is showing. A bunch of scientists decided to see if they can get rats to learn how to drive. So they built these little rat mobiles for them and got the rats in there, and they actually were driving around, and they knew how to drive. So they said, okay, that's kind of interesting. So the fact is, there's actually science labs working on teaching rats how to drive cars, and it is really quite cute to see. What is that? Oh, a drone just flew a kidney to a transplant patient, which could help rectify getting transplants quicker to people. Right now, if you have you need a kidney transplant or whatever, time's on the essence, and you have to have like special delivery there and stuff like that they get you. But if you can get it in a drone that flies through the air, you're not going to have traffic and all that stuff. You can get it there probably quicker and safer. So that's a good way to look at it, and maybe be able to use it for other things as well. Pumpkin pie in a jar is now available at Costco. Basically, it's pumpkin pie filling in a jar. So you can just scoop it out and eat it that way without the pie crust, or you can dip stuff into it and eat it that way if you want as well. So go on to Costco and get that. I might be heading to Costco tomorrow. I don't know. I might not, though, because as I said, I'm worried about my car, and it's going to be raining all day. So I might do it later in the week. So get some Halloween candy, because it's supposed to rain on Halloween. So I'm not sure if I want to get too much candy, because I don't know if we're going to get a lot of trick-or-treaters. But at the same time, what if it doesn't rain in the evening, and what if we get more? So you got to sort of play that. So I'll probably end up just getting our usual 3 big bags, like 300 or something like that. And if we have any left over, obviously we can eat it. It's not a problem. Drinking 1 Diet Coke daily can trigger a risk for dementia, or triple your risk for dementia and stroke. That just doesn't sound right. And my wife drinks more than 1 Diet Coke a day, as does my daughter. She drinks it only on the weekends, really, for the most part. But still, I guess it's the sugar substitute in it that causes this sort of thing. But I don't know. It just sounds like one of those studies that, this could happen, not that it will happen. So a high school fired all the coaches and canceled the season after one of their star players was suspended from school for breaking school rules. The coaches, though, didn't want to play a game without their star because they wanted to win. So they created a different identity for the suspended student and got him to play in the game. In this point, I have to side with the school on this one. The kid was suspended for breaking school rules, and he should suffer the punishment for what he did, as should you, as his coach, should have, disciplined him on your own and not thought about just winning. You should have thought about discipline. But because of that, the high school said, you know what? You're not coaching anymore, because we don't want guys like you who don't care really about our students. You just care about winning to coach things, and again, cancel the rest of the football scene. Says, why should we allow you to play football? Because you guys broke the rules also. I'm with the school on that one. Quentin Tarantino's Big Kahuna Burger, which has popped up in all of his films in some form or another, except maybe his old one, take place in the old days, like the World War II one and stuff like that. They're going to be doing a pop-up burger joint in Los Angeles sometime this week for Halloween. We've talked about the pop-up bars and stuff like that are themed and stuff like that, where they're going to do a pop-up Big Kahuna Burger restaurant in LA. So if you wanted to always eat at the Big Kahuna Burger, head out to LA, and now will be your chance to. Speaking of that, I didn't put this in here, but Tarantino's Once Upon a Time in Hollywood is going to be re-released in theaters with 4 new scenes added into it. So I saw the original. I'm really not going to go and see it again. It was a great movie, but I'd rather watch something else. I'd rather watch Jojo Rabbit, but it's not been released in our area yet. Well, we'll see. I mean, I've been doing some scouting ahead of time. I haven't seen it on any weekend coming up, so we'll see. Here's a couple of Tom Brady stories, which is kind of funny. I'm not the biggest Tom Brady fan, so when these type of stories pop up, I figured, hey, why not do them as well? So the first one, man steals Tom Brady's jersey from the Patriots Hall of Fame and is arrested while wearing it. So I guess, either they knew who he was or they knew what the uniform looked like, and they saw some dude just walking around wearing it and decided to bust him. So that's kind of interesting. Let me see if I can find the other one. There you go. Ex-Patriots quarterback Matt Castle tells a story of how Tom Brady, early on in his career, peed on his practice jersey, on Tom Brady's his own practice jersey, and stole a tire from a car. So just kind of some early Tom Brady stories, that might explain a thing or two about how he is now. So interesting. Samuel L. Jackson, who appears in like every other movie in the world, is actually going to be in a biopic, which I'm actually kind of interested in hearing about and seeing. He'll be playing George Clinton, and I think that'll be quite an interesting movie, a biopic about George Clinton. So that might be one I might have to check out. Probably coming out next year, probably around this time of the year, because I don't think they've even started filming it yet. So it might even be out to maybe 2021. I don't think it's going to be that late, but it should be out probably in time for Oscars of next year. So that's kind of good. And you know what? Musical biopics are pretty big right now. The Queen one was a big hit, as was the Elton John wasn't a big hit, but it got good ratings and or good reviews, and it's getting a lot of people in there. So dad buys a fridge safe to stop his kids and wife from taking his chocolate. So I guess they were taking his chocolate bars or whatever they've been keeping in the refrigerator and eating them, and he never got a chance to eat his chocolate bars. So he bought a safe and put it in the refrigerator with his candy bars in it, and only he can access the safe. I guess that's okay. I mean, it's your candy bars, but still, damn. Clapping has been banned at Oxford University over there in England. It has been replaced by jazz hands. The person who set this about was because they were afraid of how it would treat people with anxiety. I guess clapping or loud noises causes anxiety in people who have anxiety already. So they figure, why do this when they can do this? Yay, fantastic, you did a great job, hooray, yay, our team has just scored a touchdown, yay. I don't know, but I guess it's for a good cause, but still, I don't know. Heightened brain activity linked to shorter lifespans, which is funny. First you have drinking Diet Coke could cause triple your chance for stroke and dementia. Now people who happen to be smarter I'm not smart, I'm an idiot, but have heightened brain power might not live as long, because they're burning out their life essence using their humongous brains. I mean, I'd rather have heightened brain activity than these morons who don't know jack or shit about anything and elect this asshole who's in office, and then everything that he's doing that's illegal, they are convinced that it's not. So whatever. Inflatable Christmas vacation RV. Last week I talked about a inflatable Ralphie from A Christmas Story. It's now going to be available, but now there's also going to be an inflatable Christmas vacation RV where Cousin Eddie and his family showed up in. So it's got that crappy looking RV look, so you can actually get that and have that on your yard if you're a big fan of that. Michael Turner, comic book artist who passed away a few years ago, is mostly known for his gorgeous drawing of the female form. He created a bunch of characters, most famously Fathom, which Blade he created also, but Fathom and Soulfire are his two big ones. And they were so big that he used them, he created them and created his own comic company called Aspen, which is still running nowadays, and they're still doing Fathom and Soulfire comics. Well, those two characters, Fathom and Soulfire, have been tapped to launch a Turnerverse animated film franchise. So basically they're going to make animated films featuring Fathom and Soulfire, as long as they can keep the distinct Michael Turner artwork in the artwork for the animation. It could actually be pretty good. Let me see if I can find a picture of like Michael Turner's artwork. Fathom comic. All right. Images. Yeah, that's Michael Turner. So that's sort of like the Michael Turner style of sexy female artwork. So that's Fathom. And then let's look at Soulfire, see what she looks like. So they're going to be doing anime, which I think is probably best. There's a good Soulfire one. And it's like a fantasy Soulfire sort of female, something like that. So they're going to be doing animated films with those characters that are going to be connected in the Turner-verse, which I think is going to be really cool. Again, if you keep sort of the Michael Turner-esque animation, and I think that would be a good deal to do. Cloak and Dagger, the TV show that was on Freeform, has been canceled after 2 seasons. Now people are hoping that Disney Plus will pick it up and air it on the new streaming service with new episodes, but I don't know. We'll see what happens about that. Woman is hit by a blender by a McDonald's manager after she complained about the service at his McDonald's. So woman goes up to complain to the manager about the service she received at her McDonald's. The manager picks up a blender and hits her with it. That manager needs to be fired at once, and that woman needs to sue them and take them out. Nordstrom opens a store in New York City where you can get cocktails and tacos delivered to you while you shop. So that's something, right? If you like cocktails and tacos while you're shopping, go to Nordstrom's in New York City, order some, and they'll deliver it to you when it's ready. I guess that's pretty cool. I mean, I guess they're fine with that because if you drink more and you eat more, you might be willing to spend more money. So we'll see what happens. And some awful news. 39 bodies were found inside a truck container in Southland, England, somewhere in Suffolk or someplace in England, but southwest England, whatever. That's kind of awful. 39 bodies discovered in one truck. That's kind of messed up. Hopefully they'll find out what happened and they will take them out. So a drunk woman, talking about drunks, a drunk woman gets arrested, and while she is being, handcuffed, with her back, she's got herself like that. She starts grinding on the police officer's cock. So she's drunk and stuff like that, but that's kind of, there's making things worse for yourself. Like, I mean, you might be hot and sexy and drunk as a skunk, but grinding on a police officer just doesn't always work. Starbucks continues. It seems like they have a new drink every week. This one is the Black Phantom Frappuccino, which you can get at Starbucks, which is covered in like a green slime, which it's edible, I guess. So they've got that. They've got the witch one. They've got the Nightmare Before Christmas ones. They've got all kinds of them. So go to your local Starbucks and ask for any of those really crazy ones like that. Florida man comes back here. A Florida fisherman was lost at sea for 14 days. When he was discovered, he had a crazy, wild story that he claimed to have been sexually assaulted by mere people, not just mermaids, but mermen as well, sexually assaulted. Now, he's out on a rock in the middle of the ocean in the blazing sun without food and water for 2 weeks. I would assume you're probably hallucinating. And then it was mentioned on 105.7 The Fan, Jeremy Condo's the World of Stupid. He mentioned the story this week, and his first thought was, how do you do that? Because if you remember what mermaids look like, their bottom are fish and their tops are human. So you got the titties, but you don't got the hoo-ha. So how did you get sexually assaulted by it unless they blew you, I guess, might be the only thing, or titty fucked you. I don't know. And then what about the men? Because again, the men have the men top, but the fish bottoms. So how did they sexually assault you unless they also just blew you? But that was all they could do. I guess you consider that as, sexual assault, but still, I don't know. That just seems rather weird. But it was a hallucination probably brought about by thirst and hunger. So speaking of weird stories, Pat Robertson, a hugely religious guy who always comes up with these weird claims and stuff like that, claims that scientists are trying to make mouse humans by using the aborted fetal tissue. Now, you expected something like that from these right-wing conservative Catholic Tea Party or type things who their whole Catholic belief system is that abortion is evil. They don't care that there are kids taken forcibly away from their parents and tortured and treated awfully down to our south. They do not care that there are black people who are getting killed for no other reason than just being black. They don't care about women getting raped and stuff like that. But if you dare abort your fetus and have an abortion, you are the absolute worst person in the world. You should go straight to hell and die. So this dude believes that scientists are trying to create mouse humans using the aborted fetal tissue. He had to bring abortion into it somehow to get his fan base to go, oh, maybe he's right. Psychopath. Be a psychopath. Kylie Jenner wants to trademark the term rise and shine. No. Dumb bitch. Local news. Fells Point. They have a saloon called the Horseshoe Came In On Saloon. I think it was, if I remember the bar crawl we did, that was the bar where Edgar Allan Poe, the outside of it, he was discovered. Or was it the Horseshoe Came In On? That might be the Horseshoe Came In On. But he was discovered at one of those bars down there where he died outside of either the Horseshoe Came In On or it's a Horseshoe Came In On. So the Horseshoe Came In On Saloon, which I believe is the outside of that is where Edgar Allan Poe was found dead, has been named the most haunted restaurant in Maryland by Food Network, which is understandable because there have been a number of ghost sightings, not just there, but in a lot of the older buildings in Fells Point. As a matter of fact, I didn't put this one in here, but I remember it now. The Admiral Fell Inn, which is another hotel down there, there's a picture posted recently of what looked to appear to be a ghost child reaching out of a window. So we don't know if that's true or not. So there's some haunted stuff going on down at Fells Point, but Food Network itself created or had this list and named the Horseshoe Came In On as the most haunted restaurant in Maryland. So that's pretty cool, I guess. Nobel Prize for Math was awarded to a woman for the first time ever in its history, and it's about damn time. The House of Representatives unanimously passes a bill, which means both Republicans and Democrats came together for this bill, unanimously pass a bill to make animal cruelty a federal offense. That's also about frickin' time. So if you abuse an animal in any shape or form and you get caught on it, it will be a federal crime and you will go to federal court and go to federal jail. And it's a much more serious sentence than regular jail or just paying a fine or whatever. So you will get into a lot more trouble. A deer, this is kind of a rough time to be a deer now because deer season's either in session or is coming up really soon. So they're running for their lives, trying to survive through the winter. One deer got some form of revenge after it was shot, but not killed. So it was shot by a hunter. And so the deer said, oh, the hell with that, and went and fatally attacked the hunter, apparently killing him with his antlers, which you could basically make a statement for self-defense because the dude tried to shoot the deer. I mean, I'm not condoning death of any kind, deer or human, but the fact of the matter is someone tried to shoot the deer, didn't take, so the deer got pissed and got his revenge. So, I don't know. There's a YouTube channel which streams AI picked death metal. So an AI created this death metal and the YouTube channel that plays it 24/7. So all the death metal you hear on it was created by an AI, artificial intelligence. My man, Freddie Prinze Jr., married to my girl, Sarah Michelle Gellar, has got himself cast in the new Punky Brewster reboot, which I told you a little bit about. That's going to be on Hulu, I think. And Salil Moon Frye is coming back to play Punky Brewster, but this time as a grown-up, obviously. And it's probably going to be one of those stories where, she remembers what it was like to be a orphan, and is going to be the dad now that George Gaines was in Punky Brewster. She's going to play that role, and she's probably going to adopt a kid, and Freddie Prinze is either going to be the love interest, neighbor, brother, maybe even her husband at this matter. I don't know. Anything can happen, but hey, it can happen to a better guy. Freddie Prinze is actually a pretty good actor when you give him a chance. Particularly, I think TV probably suits him a little bit better than maybe movies. And he's got a very affable, very genial quality. And to have him, if he and Salil Moon Frye can have some sort of chemistry, if it is in fact going to be like a romantic sort of subplot, more power to you, man. It's good for you. Got a bunch of science stuff here real quick. First up, most of the science space stuff. A NASA spacecraft, which has been orbiting the moon, still has not located the ill-fated India moon landing. Now, we talked about that a while back. India tried to launch a moon lander to the moon, and they lost contact with it, believing it crashed. And yet, there's a American satellite going around the moon right now, orbiting it, and it has not located the spacecraft. They keep checking the area where it's supposed to have landed, and it's not there. They can't see it. So they don't know what's going on with that. So that's interesting. Scientists watch as two exoplanets collide. That must be kind of cool to watch. It's way, you're in the giant space telescope. You're looking millions of light years away at two planets you don't even know what they're about, and you're watching them blow up. That's pretty cool. NASA also, they're on a roll this week. So they saw two planets run into each other and like that. Well, they also have found a black hole sucking in a star. So they've seen that as well. So this week alone, NASA has seen two planets explode and blast into each other, and a black hole suck in a star. So that's pretty sweet. They also say that with today's technology, we could probably build a spacecraft that could get us to Venus. Now, here's the thing, though. You don't want to go to Venus, because Venus is basically probably going to happen to our planet eventually, because it's basically hell. Venus is a cloud-covered planet about the same size as Earth. That's why it's like our twin. It's closer to the sun by about we're about 50 million miles further away from Venus and the sun than Venus is. But its ground, the planet itself on the ground is so hot that if you landed a lander there now, it would not survive the heat or the pressure for more than maybe a couple minutes. Now, Russia was somehow able to get a lander on there and get some pictures on it before it was destroyed on the surface. And again, it looks like any other planet, looks like Mars, but with, instead of a red sky, it's got like a yellowish sky, but it's got the same sort of craggly little surface that all these planets, Titan, which is a moon, and Mars and Venus all have the same sort of craggy sort of look to things. Pluto, same thing. Well, not really, because we didn't really see much of Pluto, because we actually just took pictures of it from above. So, but that's the thing, is it would be too hot. Now, they say that a lot of things they want to do is with Venus, they say if you can stay up within the clouds, it wouldn't be quite as bad, because the temperature is not as bad, because basically the clouds are acting as an umbrella, which traps the heat on the surface. So any heat that's generated cannot escape, which is what can happen on our planet. It escapes. But this doesn't, because the clouds are so heavy that it keeps it as an umbrella and keeps the heat on the surface. So it's hotter on the surface than it is in the atmosphere. I guess you could say that about anything, but still. Back when I worked at Diamond, the comic book company, there was a book that I had heard about, and seemed kind of interested in it when I did some research on it. And it's something that I kind of do a variation of every Christmas Eve. It's called the Feast of the Seven Fishes. It's an Italian Christmas tradition where an Italian family makes a 7-course meal of all fish types on Christmas Eve, and you eat it and stuff like that. Hence the Feast of the Seven Fishes. Now, I got the comic book in the back. I read the trade. It was a really good story that explained the Feast of the Seven Fishes. And then I decided I wanted to do something similar. So every Christmas Eve now, I do salmon and seafood macaroni and cheese and red lobster cheddar bagels or biscuits and asparagus and some other goldfish crackers. So I do my variation of the Seven Fishes. So they made a movie, an independent movie of the book, and the first trailer for that came out this week. It looks like a fun little independent little film. Probably make a lot of money. It might be one that I might want to pick up just to check it out. The only really big name starring is Joe Pantoliano, and so that's pretty good. But it looks like a fun little film, and if it's based on the comic, it should be entertaining, and maybe it'll open up people's eyes to the Feast of Seven Fishes, which is something really interesting as well. So we got the new Star Wars movie. I talked about the trailer earlier in the episode. Well, Kylo Ren, played by Adrian Brody, will be getting a prequel film, probably on Disney Plus, coming soon. So that either means that Kylo Ren is going to die, or he's going to change or whatever, and we're going to just learn about how he became Kylo Ren, which I guess has been kind of interesting. And to have Adrian reprise the role in a film, that could be pretty good as well. I talked about Joker also. Here's another story about Joker. There's been a lot of protests and demonstrations, Hong Kong, China, all these other places as well, Chile, stuff like that. And we need to do more of that here in America because it is a disaster what's going on in our country right now. But at a lot of these demonstrations and stuff like that, people are dressing up in Joker face makeup, which again, as you remember from the film, there's a lot of protests and stuff going on, which again adds to my Dark Knight Returns thing, because there's a lot of protests and stuff like that going on as well. So that's why it looks like that maybe this protest never ended, and it turned into what the Dark Knight Returns happens there. So there are people who are taking that Joker makeup thing at the demonstrations and protests like they did in the movie to heart, and I don't know if that's a good or bad thing. So we'll find out. For Christmas, you can get Harry Potter wrapping paper. So you can wrap all your presents in. I think I saw one of the wrapping papers look like the Marauders map, and the other one is something else, but it's Harry Potter related. So you can get Harry Potter Christmas wrapping paper now, which is kind of cool in time for Christmas. Just before Thanksgiving, Disney will be releasing the sequel to Frozen 2. So you're going to start seeing a media blitz. We've already had the Olaf story about the Florida man who had sex with an Olaf doll at a Target. Well, this isn't anything like that, but Nestle Toll House is creating Frozen 2 chocolate chips. So they're going to be this bluish sort of stuff to give yourself a Frozen style cookie and that sort of thing. So that's kind of interesting as well. I've talked a bunch about advent calendars. There's all kinds of advent calendars out there. I actually went to Target today. The Lego ones are out now. There's a Lego Harry Potter advent calendar, a Lego Star Trek or Star Wars Lego advent calendar, which is usually what we get for my son. We used to get the Friends one, which is the female Legos with lots of stuff like that as well for my daughter, but she doesn't like them anymore. So those are all out now. I've talked about other advent calendars. There's cheese ones and beer ones, stuff like that. Well, here's something that most of us will probably never be able to get because it's Tiffany's. The Diamond Sellers shop has created a 6-figure advent calendar. So 6 figures, if you think about that, is like for, say, $5,000. No, that's only 4 figures. For $100,000, let's just say, you can get an advent calendar filled with daily diamonds from Tiffany's. It's probably more like $999,000 probably. But yeah, if you have that much money, go to Tiffany's and you get yourself a Tiffany Advent box. That would be something, wouldn't it? Your partner opening one every day and getting a new diamond in some form or another, diamond ring, diamond earring, diamond brooch, diamond whatever. So good on you, rich people. Build-A-Bear, on the other hand, is really good at creating kinds of themed Build-A-Bears. This one, they have a Pokemon series. They've just revealed there's going to be a Pichu Build-A-Bear. Pichu is the cute little baby version of Pikachu. And so now there's going to be a Pichu Build-A-Bear, which is probably really cool. So pick that up. I think I'm going to get my wife a Snorlax one this year because she likes Snorlax, and they're really, really cute as well. So Tupac Shakur was arrested in Tennessee today, or this week. No, it's not the presumed dead rapper. I mean, he's not presumed dead. He was, shot to death, but there's the conspiracy theories out there that he really did not die and that he faked his death so he can get out of that and do what he really wanted to do, much like, I guess, if you wanted to, the lead singer of The Doors. But instead, it's not the Tupac Shakur we know. It is actually a white guy who is named Tupac Shakur was arrested in Tennessee this week. That's more of just a kind of an interesting, funny story. Verizon customers who have unlimited minutes, I guess, or unlimited anything, I guess. You can get Disney Plus for 1 year for free. I think we're on the unlimited plan, so with Verizon. So I'll have to take a look at that and see when I try to subscribe to Disney Plus. November 12th, actually, coming up. I need to do that soon, so we'll see about that. The Ghost Whopper is out for Halloween. The only difference is that it's a typical regular Whopper, but the only difference is there is a white bun instead of your typical tan brown bun. It is a white cheddar cheese sort of bun that you put on there, but it looks like a Ghost Whopper. So something for Halloween. Hooray. Harry Potter again. There's a Hogwarts Christmas tree topper. It's an actual model of Hogwarts. You can put that lights up. They can put on the top of your Christmas tree, your Harry Potter Christmas tree, if that's what you believe in as well. A man was, and that's a bit too, and because as I just mentioned before about black men being killed and women being killed for no reason other than being black, a black man was pulled over because he had an air freshener hanging from his rearview mirror. What in the world is wrong with our country right now? That's just despicable that someone like that could put it for a freaking air freshener hanging from your rearview mirror. And how they even see that also, I don't know. Also Christmas related, Elf on a Shelf will be coming back really soon. Our Elf turkey will be coming back the day after Thanksgiving. There'll be Elf on a Shelf cereal for those people who really like their Elf on a Shelf. So go ahead and pick up some Elf on the Shelf cereal when that comes out really soon. This is something you might want to think about when you take an Uber. An Uber driver picked up a customer, drove them to the airport. They had to go on a trip, either business trip or vacation or something like that, probably business trip, and didn't want to have their car, at the airport the whole time. So they would take an Uber there and Uber back. So the Uber driver, drops them off at the airport. The customer pays for the ride, and the Uber driver goes off, and the passenger's like, okay, he's going back. He's going to work. No, the Uber driver drove back to the person's house and robbed it because he knew that they weren't going to be home anytime soon and that they were at the airport and had no way of getting back anytime soon. So just be aware that there are Uber drivers out there who very well could be doing this type of stuff just because. Scientists have created an artificial leaf that uses sunlight to produce clean synthetic food, I guess. Some sort of synthetic thing, but they created a artificial leaf. And I guess maybe that'll help, I don't know, create more oxygen. I don't know. So it's science is doing science stuff. So interesting on that. Villagers are knitting jumpers, which are sweaters, for elephants. This is obviously in India and stuff like that. Their villagers are knitting jumpers for the elephants to protect them from the soon-to-be bitter cold coming their way. So they're making these giant, like blankets, basically, and using them to cover up the elephants to keep them warm, which is kind of nice. A dog who lost her puppies in a fire and was always going back to the barn where she lost her puppies, hoping that maybe they'll come back. Kind of a sad story. So the owner saw how depressed and sad the mommy dog was, so she lost all her puppies in the fire. So she tried to put out a story about it and see if there's anyone who could help, maybe bring some puppies that were unwanted or whatever to the dog so she can, have some sort of closure. Well, somebody said, yeah, I got 8 that their mother passed away. I don't know what to do with them. So they said, bring them to us. So they brought these 8 puppies to this person, and he let them, mother, dog, find them, and she became their surrogate mother. And now she's doing what she wants to do. She's taking care of her baby puppies. Nice adoption story. And finally, to end this final Dylan Knows Before Halloween, why don't we end with a Halloween story? There's been stories in the news about tainted candy and stuff like that, and that, don't worry about it, it's not real, whatever. Well, apparently, actually, it is real, because there's been a number of, there's a delivery of candy was found to contain marijuana, and the candy involved with it were Wonka bars and Nerd Jump and Nerd ropes have this marijuana in them. So someone actually is putting marijuana in candy. Now, I think this was just a limited time thing. I don't think it's going to be in every single piece of candy out there, but it is something that Snopes really can't say is fake anymore, because this actually is a real story that's been verified and has been caught. So if you see any Wonka bars or Nerd ropes, just be careful. They might be laced with marijuana. And that is the final episode of Dylan Knows Before Halloween. Next Thursday is Halloween. Rather, this upcoming Thursday, I should say, is Halloween. I will be hopefully competing in my work costume contest, which I've won about 7 out of the 12 years I've been there. And hopefully this year I'll win. I'm not going to tell you all out there what I'm going to wear. I'll tell you if I did win next week. Also next week will be my TMI episode, because a huge milestone is coming up on Halloween this year. A 25th anniversary of something that is a TMI story is occurring this Halloween, 1994, 25 years ago. You'll have to wait till next week to find out what it is, though people who've watched this show before and who know me already pretty much know what it is. But for those who don't, you just have to wait till next week. It's going to be well worth it. I will be going solo again. It'll probably be on Saturday, November 2nd. My wife and kids will be off camping, and I'll be on my home alone doing stuff. So next week is the TMI episode. Enjoy the rest of your week. Enjoy Halloween. Please, I told you some examples of Halloween apathy. Let's not have Halloween apathy. Let's go out there. Let's celebrate Halloween to the fullest. Even if it does rain, go out there, wear your costumes, give out candy, buy candy, go to your work, give out candy, wear costumes, whatever. Have fun. Enjoy the holiday. The next one after that is Thanksgiving, and it's late this year, so we're going to have to slog through the month of November. But there's some interesting stuff coming up there, particularly November 12th is the launch of Disney+. On that note, I am going to depart in quiet. It is 11:18 p.m. here on Saturday, October 26th, the last weekend before Halloween. So go out there, enjoy yourselves, watch some scary movies, get some candy, not laced with marijuana, hopefully. Happy Halloween. We'll see you in November. The TMI show coming up.